I landed on Blackish because I had mentored Kenya in the showrunner training program the year before when he was actually working on the concept for Blackish. And there were a whole lot of, issues that he came to me about during that process of even selling it. So before it was sold, I was having conversations with him, and then I read, the early pilot and gave some notes and things like that. So my role on that show was really like his consigliere. I think he would agree that that was kind of my role, kind of behind the scenes, and then more openly and officially when I was on the show. And even then, when I was on the show, sometimes I'd be like, psst, psst, how about this? Nope, we're going the wrong way. Maybe we should do it this way. And I guess one example, there were a couple, but one really good example of that was when we decided we were going to take this bold step and do the episode called Hope, which is really about having the talk that certainly I was very exhausted having with my sons about being Black men in America and some of the inherent dangers of that. And we decided to do this really, really powerful episode as a result of, yet another evening when I knew I was going to have to go home and have the talk with my two Black teenage sons. And Kenya bought me a bottle of alcohol. We shared that in the room, and then we said, we have to speak to this. And quite frankly, because it is a very heavy topic, most of the writers were very nervous about us doing it. And even after we had painstakingly broken like every beat of that episode in a large group, it was like all hands on deck, and had lots of great, passionate, layered discussion about what we should and shouldn't do in this episode. And then we, Kenya wrote the draft, and then we had an internal table read with just the writers. I mean, like, you could hear a rat piss on cotton. People were so quiet and so afraid of it. But having come up the way I came up, from a different world, living single and now Blackish, I was not afraid. So I really was, again, in the role of consigliere, encouraging him to boldly move forward with that episode. And I think it was, a real like milestone, episode for the show. And I think it put it on the map in a way that it would not have otherwise been had we not decided to, go boldly where others were not going at this time in television. And then the flip side of that is this really funny story where, because it was this important episode and weighty episode, a lot of people were nervous about it, as we went through the process. And so there were a lot of eyeballs on it. And when we turned it into the network, like 100 people watched, the initial rough cut. And people really enjoyed it. But it was a little long. And Kenya came to me and he said, "Can you take a look?" And I'm like, yeah, like, this is what I do. I'm made for this. So I go into the edit bay and I look at it and I find the 2 minutes or whatever it was. But I also find a scene where Dre Johnson, the lead character, is walking toward camera in the hallway of his home, and a crew member scampers across the stage. Like 150 people had seen several cuts of this, and no one noticed the prop master walking in the scene. So it's good to have that attention to detail.
Needed your eyes on it for sure.
It definitely did. It definitely did. I mean, we would have all been mortified had we been watching that on television. Like, this is gonna like put the show in another conversation in America. Oops. There's the prop master scampering across the foyer.